Darkness pressed in from every side. Cold, sterile air buzzed with a faint hum of power running through unseen conduits. Mira opened her eyes. The light overhead was white and harsh, a clinical glare that washed color from everything. She blinked away the blur, taking in the metallic walls, the smooth floor with strange grooves, and the bands around her wrists. The cuffs were sleek, silver, and pulsed with dim blue light. She sat up slowly, heart pounding. She wasn't alone. Around her, a dozen other children stirred. Some cried softly. Others blinked, dazed, or stared blankly at the alien chamber they found themselves in. They all wore the same thing, bright orange jumpsuits with white tags bearing their names in neat block letters. Each bore the same glowing cuffs. She saw Theo first. Curled up in a corner, the boy's dark curls were tousled, and his fingers twitched as if typing. Mira called his name gently. He looked up. "Where are we?" he whispered. "I don't know," she replied, her voice calm though the weight in her chest grew heavier. "But I think we were taken." From somewhere beyond the sealed door, the echo of heavy boots rang out. A hiss preceded its opening. Two towering beings stepped inside, their forms vaguely humanoid but wrapped in armor that shimmered with refracted light. Their eyes, if they had any, were hidden beneath opaque visors. Behind them came a third figure, taller, more commanding. No helmet. Pale lavender skin stretched over sharp features and narrow eyes that glowed faintly blue. He surveyed the children as though choosing livestock. "I am Commander Vale of the Imperial Nexus. You will be compliant. You will be studied. Any resistance will be corrected." A murmur rippled through the group. Mira stood, despite the ache in her legs and the unknowns surrounding her. Her voice was steady. "We are not animals." Vale tilted his head, amused. "You are human. That is close enough." Then he turned and left. The door sealed behind him. Later, in the privacy of dimmed lights, Mira knelt beside Theo as he tapped his cuffed fingers rhythmically on the wall. "There's a signal," he whispered. "I don't know what kind of network this is, but I can hear it. Like a data stream, pulsing beneath the walls. I think they underestimated our tech." "They're arrogant," Mira said, eyes narrowing. "That's something we can use." More children were brought in the next day. Some younger. Some older. Lonnie arrived with her eyes wide, taking in every detail. Mira recognized that look, a quiet intelligence, the kind that didn't miss much. Jax came the day after, a taller boy with a bruise under one eye and hands balled into fists. He punched the door 5 times before Mira convinced him to sit. None of them were ordinary. Mira could feel it. They weren't just any kids. These were the outliers. The kind Earth had been training, not for war, but for survival. Project Aegis wasn't a myth. And someone, somewhere, had made a mistake by letting the wrong empire think they could take children without consequences. The Galactic Empire held debates on species classification, dominance hierarchies, and the usefulness of lesser creatures. In sterile rooms orbiting dying stars, the Empire voted on whether to harvest, observe, or eliminate. But for now, Commander Vale had secured permission to test the endurance thresholds of Homo sapiens juveniles. He didn't know that his decision would trigger one of the worst miscalculations in the history of galactic politics. "You're too calm," Jax growled under his breath. "We should have attacked the moment they came back." "And then what?" Mira said without looking up. "Die first? Be forgotten faster?" Jax shifted beside her, grumbling. Mira continued watching the guard on the other side of the glass. One of them was younger. His movements jittery. Nervous. "See him?" she whispered. "He's new. Not one of theirs by birth. The way he hesitates, how he flinches when Vale walks by. He might be reachable." Jack scoffed, but Theo perked up. "If I can get his pattern," Theo said, "I might be able to sync the cuff signals." Mira nodded. "Do it." That night, Theo slipped closer to the wall, pretending to sleep. The guard passed every 24 minutes. Every 6th pass, he lingered. That was when Mira spoke to him. Only 3 words. "We remember names." The guard froze. She didn't have to say more. A name was power. A name was identity. If she remembered his, If humans could do that, they weren't what the Empire believed. The next time he passed, a packet of food was dropped, one that contained not just sustenance, but a folded strip of metal and a fiber optic wire sealed inside. Theo's grin was slow, careful. In the depths of space, Earth did not rage. Earth listened. When the children disappeared, Sentinel-0 was activated. It was not an AI in the conventional sense. It was an entity built to observe, calculate, and execute without ego or panic. It traced the quantum breadcrumb Mira embedded in her cuff. It marked the location. The response was calculated. No drama. No public declarations. Just the slow hum of a dreadnought shifting out of Mars orbit. No lights. No escort. Stealth, as a principle, suited humanity better than wrath. But wrath was coming. Myra's voice was barely audible as she spoke to the others. We're not prisoners. We're bait. And they don't realize it yet. What if Earth doesn't come? Lonnie asked, her voice trembling. They will, Mira said. We are not expendable. And when the others looked at her like they wanted to believe but couldn't be sure, she added, they didn't train us to give up. They trained us to outlast. That was when she handed Theo the wire. The escape plan was crude, because it had to be. Theo rerouted power through his cuffs, causing a system glitch that disabled cameras for 17 seconds. That was long enough for Mira and Jax to slip into the adjacent maintenance corridor and scan the structure. They returned with critical details. The station's lower ring was barely guarded, a logistics oversight. Their attempt was almost successful. But Vale had been warned. The breach triggered an immediate response. Gas flooded the cell block. Jax fought through it, carrying a younger girl back to safety before he collapsed. Mira never screamed. Later, as Vale stood above her, triumphant, he smiled. You believed you could escape. Your minds are advanced for your age. Admirable. But not enough. You think this is over? Mira said, her voice rasping but calm. You haven't even heard us roar. Vale frowned. Roar. Then he noticed the flicker in the lights. A rhythm, a pulse. Too deliberate. Far above, in orbit, Sentinel-0 received the signal. The children had left the trail. All conditions for Operation Reclaimer met. The Empire would never hear the roar. But they would feel the tremor. Back in the cell, Mira sat quietly, chains back on her wrists. The others watched her in silence. She smiled. They know where we are. Then the lights in the hallway flickered again, this time not from a system fault, but a silent acknowledgement. We see you. And for the first time since being taken, Mira leaned her head back, closed her eyes, and let herself rest. Tomorrow they would rise. Commander Vale sat before the Imperial Tribunal in a room carved from black stone that shimmered under false starlight. The walls pulsed faintly with the energy of long-dead suns. The voices of the judges echoed from nowhere and everywhere at once. You are certain they were not enhanced? Asked one. Vale's jaw clenched. No physical augmentations. No detectable implants. But their behavior, their coordination, suggests a higher-order training regimen. Possibly genetic optimization. A pause stretched, silent and vast. They are children, Commander. Earth offspring. An undeveloped species. Vale bowed his head. I underestimated them. I will not again. You will not need to, the voice replied coldly. Containment protocols are being reassigned. The signal ended. The tribunal chamber dimmed. Vale remained still. He had not reported the signal pulse, the one from the girl's cuff. He had scrubbed the data himself, rerouted it to a secondary buffer. If the Empire knew, they would take the children away from him, and he wasn't done. Not yet. Back on the station, in the sublevels beneath the primary observation wing, Mira stared through the reinforced glass of their new containment unit. This one had no air vents. No shadows to disappear into. The walls hummed constantly with disruptor fields. Escape was no longer an option. But escape was never the goal anymore. Lonnie sat beside her, sketching schematics into the dust with a fingernail. He's afraid of you. Good, Mira said. You think Earth will actually come? Jax asked. His tone wasn't doubt, just a weariness that came from having believed too long. They already have, Theo said from his corner, eyes locked on the faint flicker in the ceiling light. They're listening. The others gathered closer. There was something powerful about proximity, about the shared breath of those who had survived too much. Each child had learned to carry pain differently, Jax with fists, Lonnie with precision, Theo with code, and Mira with the calm of a still ocean hiding a riptide beneath. They were not friends. Not exactly. But they were something stronger, necessary. That night, one of the guards entered the chamber. Not the jittery one. This one was older, broader, and his armor bore the insignia of the elite enforcement corps, an offshoot of the Empire's original peacekeeping units, now used more for intimidation than order. He pointed at Mira. Come. The others stepped in front of her, reflexively. She walked forward anyway. The room they took her to wasn't a laboratory. It was a throne room. Vale stood beside an arched window that overlooked the gas giant below. Storms raged in silence across its violet surface. Lightning stitched its atmosphere. You think Earth will come for you, he said without turning. You think your species matters. Mira said nothing. They didn't even respond when we took you. They didn't react, she corrected. Big difference. He turned, eyes narrowing. You've been trying to provoke me, he said. The coordination. The escape. The resistance. It's not rebellion, it's a performance. You're stalling. Mira said nothing. Why? He asked. You must know we can end this. With a word. She tilted her head. Then why haven't you? The silence that followed wasn't one of uncertainty, it was revelation. Vale looked at her like he was seeing the shape of a weapon too long hidden beneath fabric. You're not bait, he said slowly. You're the beacon. Mira smiled. Not wide. Just enough. Back in the containment unit, Theo whispered numbers to himself, watching the way the power systems surged and fell with the ship's gravity stabilization. Lonnie cross-referenced it with the orbital drift logs she'd memorized from the maintenance corridor. Jax paced like a caged wolf. When Mira returned, they knew something had changed. She didn't speak right away. She just sat. The others gathered close. They're rerouting the station, she said finally. Setting a course into the event horizon of the planet's magnetosphere. They want to make us disappear. Jax spat. Cowards. They're afraid, she said. And fear makes people sloppy. Theo's fingers tapped his cuffs. I can crash the internal comms grid. For 20 seconds. No alarms. Total blackout. Can you hijack the transmission uplink? Only if I'm close to the core. Mira nodded. Then we'll get you there. But they'll know, Lonnie said. We'll have to go loud. Mira looked at each of them. We've waited long enough. Earth's dreadnoughts didn't look like battleships. They looked like silence made solid. Cloaked in null field plating, they moved through space like thoughts, unseen, unspoken, and undeniable. The Eidolon arrived on the edge of the Empire's quadrant without raising a single alert. It drifted among debris clouds and artificial moons. Inside, Sentinel-0 watched. Listened. When the pulse came, short, deliberate, unmistakably human, it triggered the final phase. The children had activated the beacon. Authorization granted. The escape began with the flicker of a system failure. Theo dropped the lights, and Mira took out the first guard with a move she hadn't practiced since Earth. Elbow throat sweep. Jax followed, grabbing the shock baton and knocking the next soldier into the wall. They moved like one body, fluid, direct, lethal. The Empire hadn't taught its soldiers to fear children. But fear is a fast teacher. They reached the data core within 7 minutes. Theo plugged in the wire he'd hidden in his jumpsuit hem. Lonnie diverted coolant pressure to burst a side panel open. Mira stood at the door, waiting. She felt it before she saw it, the ripple of something large entering the system. Theo looked up. They're here. The station rocked, just once, then again. No alarms. No impacts. Just stillness, followed by silence. Then over the comms, a voice. Subject, Mira Halden. Confirmed. Stand by for extraction. Vale heard it too. He stormed toward the core room, guards in tow, but the doors sealed in his face. Inside, Mira smiled at the voice. "Nice of you to join us." The floor beneath her shimmered, a circle of air compressing as matter folded away. Light lanced up, silent, enveloping her. One by one, the children vanished, pulled through quantum slipstreams into the belly of a ship Earth hadn't named, because it hadn't needed to. By the time Vale breached the door, the room was empty. Nothing but a single blinking light on the console, shaped like a stylized wolf. The mark of Aegis. Later, aboard the Eidolon, Mira stood before the command screen. The others stood behind her, cleaned, unshackled, and alive. A human commander regarded them with steel in his eyes and warmth beneath it. "You did exactly what you were trained to do," he said. "No," Mira said. "We did more." The commander nodded. "The Empire is shaken. They will want war now." "They've had war," Mira said. "They just didn't know it started with us." He looked at her, considering. Then nodded again. "Then let's make sure they remember." In the silence that followed, Mira turned toward the stars, eyes catching the distant glint of the station they'd left behind. Not destroyed. Not yet. There were more children. And Earth didn't leave anyone behind. The black void of space was seldom still. Out beyond the corpse fields of Sector Delta 7, where forgotten warships drifted like fossils of ambition, something stirred. The Eidolon hovered just within the magnetic fog of a shattered moon, cloaked in the ancient silence of dead stars. Mira stood on the observation deck, arms crossed, her expression unreadable. She wore no insignia. Earth's Aegis didn't believe in rank for the survivors. It believed in readiness. Behind her, Commander Reyes approached with a quiet gait. He was older than the others, sharp in the way gravity makes blades. "The Empire's fleet is massing near the outer rim," he said. "They're rallying around Vale." "They still trust him?" Mira asked. "He's shifted the narrative. Claims you and the others were enhanced weapons sent to infiltrate their core systems." Myra's lips twitched into a humorless smile. "He's not wrong." Reyes hesitated. "He's not right either." "I'm not concerned with being right." "No," Reyes said. "You're concerned with finishing this." She turned from the window. "How many more?" 17 stations. 3 transport ships. Maybe 400 children, scattered. The Empire's hiding them deeper now. Fewer patrols. Less visible movement. They've learned. Myra's jaw clenched. But it means they're scared. In the war room, the rest of the team had gathered. Jax leaned over a holographic map, fingers tracing through light like it was something he could rip apart. Lonnie was quiet, eyes flicking between data feeds, and Theo was already interfacing with the next op schematics, his pupils darting with coded pulses. A new face stood among them. A boy, older than Mira by a year, maybe 2, with sharp features and dark, steady eyes. He carried himself like someone who'd known capture but had never surrendered. Jax stepped in, quiet for once. "You okay?" She didn't answer right away. "I thought getting out would feel like winning." He leaned on the frame. "It's not over." "I know. That's the problem." She turned the feed off. Static blinked, then died. The next operation was unlike the others. It required full insertion, no extraction until the station's tether node was hijacked and reprogrammed. They would have to stay for days, maybe weeks. Reyes didn't like it. "It's a trap." "They're all traps," Mira said. "That doesn't mean we walk away." She took only a small team, Mira, Jax, Lonnie, Rian, and Theo. They dropped through ion storm cover, drifting in a decoy vessel patched together from salvaged wrecks. The Empire wouldn't recognize it. Hopefully. Station Lyra was buried deep within an asteroid field, its comms array disguised as mineral veins. The children there weren't even registered as prisoners. Officially, the station didn't exist. That made it dangerous. That made it important. They infiltrated through a maintenance shaft, disguised in refitted guard armor. Theo rerouted the bioscanners with a ghost loop. Rian mapped the ventilation pathways to ensure no surprise patrols. Inside, the station was different. Cleaner. Calmer. The children here weren't in cells. They were in classrooms. Mira watched from a viewport as children recited alien ideograms to a holographic instructor. They wore tie-dye uniforms. They smiled. They didn't know they were prisoners. "This isn't right," Jax whispered. "They've started assimilation," Lonnie said. "Behavioral restructuring. That's why we couldn't find them." "They're not just hiding them," Mira murmured. "They're erasing them." It made what had to be done harder. They needed to extract without alerting the garrison, reawaken the children's memories without destabilizing them, and hijack the station's signal relay. They only had one shot. Mira met with one of the instructors under the pretense of a routine systems check. The woman, a pale-skinned humanoid with delicate features and a voice like glass, offered her tea. "You're new," the instructor said, eyes flicking to Myra's borrowed badge. "Transferred from Orlon," Mira replied. "I've heard they've had trouble with discipline." "Not here." The woman smiled faintly. "Not since the program stabilized. The young ones are always so eager to please. Once they understand the Empire is their family now, everything else becomes irrelevant." Mira set her tea down. "And if they remember Earth?" "They don't." She said it simply. With certainty. Mira left the room and didn't look back. That night, the team began Phase 1. Theo injected memory triggers into the station's AR learning platform. Subtle at first, flashes of blue sky, the sound of rain, the rhythm of a heartbeat not shaped by machines. Lonnie disrupted sleep cycles just enough to create lucidity. Rian passed coded notes. Jax handled surveillance. And Mira waited. The first child to wake was a girl with tight curls and a tremor in her left hand. She remembered a tree. Just one. But it was enough. More followed. Whispers spread. Glances turned sharp. The children began to question. To remember. Then the alarms sounded. They came faster than expected. Imperial agents, alerted by a data spike Theo couldn't mask. He fought to hold the relay open, sweating through the Jacton interface. Jax stood by the hallway, body braced for impact. "They're breaching. North corridor." "Hold it," Mira ordered. "Theo's not done." Rian grabbed a baton. "We're outnumbered." "We've been outnumbered since day one," Lonnie snapped. "We still win." The first guards crashed through, but the children were already moving. Not away, toward. They surged down the corridor, led by the girl who remembered the tree. The guards hesitated. And that's when Mira moved. The fight wasn't clean. It wasn't cinematic. It was fast, brutal, and full of the fury that only stolen childhoods could generate. Mira moved like vengeance in human form. Jax fought like someone who had nothing left to lose. Rian protected the youngest, while Theo screamed updates from the relay interface. Then it connected. A final pulse, brighter than the others. Not encrypted. Not hidden. A message. To Earth. To everyone. "We remember." The words echoed through every frequency the Empire thought it controlled. Broadcast from the station's heart, bleeding into their fleet, their strongholds, their networks. And Earth heard. Every sleeper cell activated. Every hidden ship emerged. Every child who had once dreamed of grass underfoot and wind in their lungs remembered. The Empire's illusion shattered. As extraction pods descended, Mira stood atop the relay chamber, battered but unbroken. She watched the Empire's warships scramble, flailing like insects under a sudden sun. Rhea's voice crackled through comms. "We've got you. Opening breach corridor now." "Not yet," Mira said. "There's no time. There's always time for a message." She turned, facing the station's primary cam. "This is Mira Halden. To the Galactic Empire, you captured human children. You broke your treaty. You stole our minds. Our families. Our names. You thought that would be enough. You were wrong." She stepped back as the beam caught her, and she vanished in a streak of pale light. On worlds across the galaxy, humans stirred. Not just in hiding, but in the Empire's own cities, its schools, its fleets. Those who had survived. Those who had blended in. Those who had waited. They remembered. And the war began anew. Not for conquest. Not even for vengeance. But for the children. And for what came next.